You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
Welcome to the Fourth Line podcast of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by This is February the 11th, 2019. With you today is myself, Carl, the always wonderful Joel.
What up?
And the always inspirational Nick.
Hi there.
How are you gentlemen doing today?
Well, it's Monday.
Yep.
Today was a solid Monday-ish of Mondays, but Joel, you must have had a pretty good week.
Yeah?
I mean...
I don't know. This is a fine week.
You have your future captain locked down.
Oh, I love Auston Matthews. I love that guy. So nice. He scores goals. He wins games. We beat the Habs on Saturday, so, really can't complain about that.
Barely beat the Habs on Saturday.
Canada's team won on Hockey Day in Canada. What more could Canada want?
I mean, you also lost to the Rangers, though.
This is Garrett Sparks, and did you see how many stinking shots we had that game?
I was like, I don't think Garrett Sparks had anything to do with a lot of that game.
We had 97 shots on goal. We took 337 shot attempts.
Which is a shockingly slow amount to get on net. That should be what you're working on in practice.
I don't think it really matters. Guy's a god. Give him all the money. Yeah. Send Lundqvist back to Sweden. Right? Sweden? Yeah, Sweden.
So
he is from Sweden.
Auston Matthews is officially a extended Toronto Maple Leaf. So no one's up for cheating Auston Matthews anytime soon. But he signed a brand new deal. A fairly short deal, though. 5 years, $11 million per. What do you think, Joel?
I like it. Let's go. Sign Marner. Let's go.
Next topic.
This is going to be the fastest podcast we've ever recorded.
What do you want me to say? I still love it.
But why the 5 versus the 8? That's what I'm uncertain about there. Because, Connor McDavid signed the 8. You see most players out of their entry-level deals sign in 8 years. Auston Matthews, 5. And from what I understand, that's only 1 year. That still takes him to unrestricted free agency, correct?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't pay it. There you go.
It only buys up a year of UFA, I think.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. I think it's partly because, Matthews had more, I don't know who Connor McDavid's agent is. He should probably get a new one, is really what, I don't know. Matthews' agent did well for him, but I don't think anyone's sad. I don't know, no, there are Leafs fans who are, upset about it, but they're not smart because, you should be happy that Auston Matthews signed for less than 12. I was expecting in the 12.5 to 13, so I'm fine with this.
Well, I think if the contract goes any longer, then it goes even higher than 13. The AAV does.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, so we've got a shorter deal at less money. And from the Auston Matthews side, he gets paid. There's nothing to be disappointed about making $11 million.
I'm sure he loves it. And he becomes a free agent at the age of 27.
Yeah, so he gets another big payday at the end of this.
Yeah, and it'll probably be with the Leafs. That's the thing. I was it'll either be with the Leafs or both sides. The Toronto base will want him gone and he'll want to be gone. It's one of the two. I don't think, because it's either going to go well or he's not going to win a Stanley Cup with the Leafs, and we're going to be okay, who's next?
After that, right? 5 years done. I guess that would be 8 years he's been with the Leafs by then?
I mean, if the Leafs aren't going to win a Stanley Cup in the next 5 years, I don't know if they're ever going to win a Stanley Cup, so.
Well, there you go. So Auston Matthews extended. Joel, very happy. Having that at that short, you're expecting 13.5. Is that right?
No, I was expecting like in the 12.5 range.
Okay. So you were expecting that. So that extra $1 million, what did you do with it?
I want to give it to Kyle Dubas so he can do whatever he wants with it.
Fair.
I'm not the GM. Fair. I've stopped caring about contracts. I want to just enjoy my team having awesome players. This is why we hired Kyle Dubas, so that he can deal with it, and I can enjoy John Tavares, Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner, Jake Muzzin, Frederik Andersen, and just watch hockey. I don't care what Dubas does. We will, and we can.
Well, and there is one more piece that they have to sign. One last. Mitch Marner still needs a contract. Joel doesn't care about contracts anymore. So Nick, are you concerned? There was a lot of talk this week from Marner's agent, which he denied, and then undenied, and then denied again. So that guy's a real quality agent. What do you think? Are you concerned about the Mitch Marner contract? Or I guess not even concerned. Where do you think? Cause you probably don't, as a Wings fan, you're like, yeah, sure, whatever, do your thing.
I'm not that concerned that they're going to get it done. I think Dubas will figure it out, but I don't understand why his agent's getting involved at this point. Like, they've come out and said, we don't want to work on a contract until the off season. Now his agent's coming out and saying, well, there's going to be offer sheets on it. Like, if you don't want to talk about it to the off season, then wait till the off season. And they're also putting all this attention on Marner in the media scrums, which I think is just not productive. But no, I'm not worried. I think Dubas proved himself 3 times now this year. So I think they'll get it done. I think they'll probably get it done before July 1st. I don't think they're going to let him get into offer sheet territory. They'll get it done, and I think it'll probably be same as her, with the lower AAV.
Yeah, right now.
And it'll be, I was going to say, and it won't be 5. It'll be 4 or 6.
4 years, you mean?
Yeah, for years. It won't be, they won't have him coming off the books at the same time as Matthews.
So that'll be, because right now, Matthews is, what is happening on, okay, so right now, yeah, because Auston Matthews, William Nylander will both end at the same time. And so you're thinking, Joel, that they'll stagger those.
Yeah. Because in that way, it's if Matthews doesn't re-sign and they sign Marner to 6. So let's say Matthews goes to Arizona after year 5, and they know that they can pony up to make sure Mitch Marner stays. Or if Marner leaves after 4, they can pony up to get Matthews to stay.
Right. Well, as of right now, the Toronto Maple Leafs have $7.5 million. Probably once they announce the cap number, that'll go up to about 10.5, 11 million in cap space, which gives them time to sign Mitch Marner to a 6-year, $9 million, $10 million contract.
Probably 10.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be 10. They'll trade Connor Brown and Nikita Zaitsev.
I mean, if you can find someone to take Nikita Zaitsev.
There was already reports that people have asked for Zaitsev, I think it was a 4th round pick at this deadline.
Well, if that's the case,
what are they waiting for?
Do that before someone changes their mind. Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, they don't have anyone to play defense if they trade Zaitsev. As bad as Zaitsev's contract is, they don't have anyone to replace him.
I mean, Nikita Zaitsev is the 4th best defenseman on this team. At best, 4th best defenseman. That's fine if you're giving away your 4th best to get out of a bad contract. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, in the off season, not in the middle of a playoff run.
But hold on, I thought Justin Holl was not on the roster right now.
Justin Holl is on the roster.
He is on the roster.
Yeah, but Mike Babcock hates Justin Holl, so that doesn't work. It's not going to happen now. but Zaitsev will not be a Maple Leaf after this season.
Yeah, regardless, they have to move him. They got to get that off their cap.
Someone will take him.
Especially if they want to keep Kapanen, right? Like, they're running out of space with Marner.
Yeah, someone will take him. I'm not worried about that. Like, you're not going to get anything for him, but someone will take him.
Well, we will see. It'll be very interesting to, what the Leafs do at this deadline. If they manage to find a way to package Zaitsev for something back right now, or wait until the offseason, something's going to have to give, because certainly with Kapanen, Andreas Johnsson, and Mitch Marner as restricted free agents, there's not enough room as it is to sign all three.
And Luke Glendening on the cap too, by the way.
Forget that. That's not Dubas is not trading for Luke Glendening.
Come on, Joel. Just consider it. He's a good player. He's a real good player. Babcock loves him.
Babcock may love him, but there's no way Dubas is like, I'm going to give up for Glendening. I'll tell you what. We'll give you Zaitsev.
I was going to say, what if that asset is Nikita Zaitsev?
They'd have to throw in a fourth. That's how bad Glendening is. And they'd have to retain salary.
Retain some of his 1.8 on Glendening.
Yeah, and then we just stash him in the AHL and recover the $1 million from the eights. Brilliant, I like it. I love this. I love this plan.
Stop Babcock from ever using him.
Yep.
Well, one team that is struggling very, very mightily right now is the Anaheim Ducks, and they finally made a move. Randy Carlyle gone from the Anaheim Ducks, replaced. Bob Murray, general manager of the Anaheim Ducks, replaced him on an interim basis with himself, which I always think is a very bold move, especially for a guy in Bob Murray who has literally never coached ever. I like that. It's like if you had a delivery service. You're like, man, this delivery driver's really slow, but I don't have my driver's license right now. I'm going to fire him, and I'm going to do it. I've never driven a truck before, but I'm pretty sure I'm better than he is. It's a good stance by Bob Murray. I like it.
I don't know how to feel about the GM replacement thing. I mean, how many assistant coaches does a team have on the bench? There's 3 of them at least, right? And none of them are good enough to fill in temporarily. I don't know. Have they said anything about filling it immediately or waiting till the off season? They're pretty much done at this point, right? Or are they still in the playoff race?
Everyone in the Western Conference is still in that playoff race somehow, but what they've come out and said is that they want him to be able to evaluate the roster better to see what's there. If you need to be behind the bench and you can't see what's happening from the press box, perhaps, you should probably stop being the general manager of that team as well.
Right? I feel like the GM should know that inside and out.
It's I need to talk to the players. I need to get a real feel for what's happening, right? I just can't do it from upstairs.
Maybe he's looking for character guys. Come on. He's like, who are the character players? Who are the leaders of this team so I can trade them?
Well, he's about to find out. All of his character guys to Edmonton. They're looking for a bunch of them up there. So, obviously something had to give, right? Randy Carlyle, this is his second time with the Anaheim Ducks. And there's a lot of confusion on, is Randy Carlyle the problem or is it the team itself? Because this team, not very far off from essentially the same core, going pretty deep in the playoffs multiple times. What do you think? Is this a management roster problem, a coaching problem, or a little A, little B?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, their big names are getting older. So, once you get to be the age that these guys are at, your play starts to decline. But they have some good, young, talented players too. I don't think Randy Carlyle has ever been a good motivator. So I think he's partially the issue, but I don't know. I think they're probably just in a bit of a funk and they need a bit of a shakeup to get out of it.
I'm fairly certain Randy Carlyle may not have been the only issue, but he was a big issue. So I don't know. It's like this is the same thing that, well, you look at like what we talked about Chicago Blackhawks a few weeks back. They're in a similar boat. They have like some good young players, but then they also have these older guys who are making tons of money and not so good anymore. So like, how do you like? I don't know how it's that. Like, it's these like 6, 7, 8 year contracts for guys that are over 30. It's just not working out so well anymore.
Well, and that's kind of the issue, right? Like, what is it that he's going to be able to do? Are you going to be able to convince someone to take Ryan Kessler's contract off your hands? No, right? Like 3 more years at almost $7 million. No one's taking that. If you need to be behind the bench to realize Ryan Kessler is a problem and not good enough on your team and that he needs to go, you need to go, right? Like you should sit there and be like, is that the problem? You have good players up and down, but you have old Corey Perry, old Ryan Getzlaf, old Ryan Kessler, and a good young core behind them. If you can find a way to move out one, if not 2 of those pieces, then you can start to actually do a rebuild. But until then, you're in this situation where this is your team. You have the team signed. Fix it.
But can he? But that's the thing. Like, can he fix it?
Well, but I guess you need to find, and maybe that's why you get rid of Randy Carlyle, right? He's not able to take this roster. If he can't make this roster win, this is the only roster they have, right? So he needs to find a way, but he's not going to be, like, you look, Dallas Eakins, obviously, not beloved in Edmonton, but he's been doing a fantastic job with the Ducks AHL team in the same way he did before. And next year, if you're looking at trying to, save some space, there's a lot of guys on that team that are going to be coming up, right? You've got, at least Sam Steele. You've got a lot of, probably 3, 4, 5 prospects coming from that team to this team. If you want someone who's at least been able to win, I'm looking down there and I'm like, Dallas Eakins, here's chance number 2. It can't get worse than Randy Carlyle.
It really can't.
So do you guys think this is it for Carlyle? Is this the end of his coaching career in the NHL?
Are you asking, is it or should it?
I'm asking, is it?
Someone will give him another job.
Anaheim will give him another job. Like, he got hired back there after his terrible time in Toronto. Obviously the last time in Anaheim he won something, so that's good. Anaheim will bring him back for the 3rd go around. He's not done yet. It'll be, they love bringing people back. They brought Solani back. They're gonna bring Korea back in some way. It's gonna happen.
They brought the friggin' Mighty Ducks of Anaheim from the movie back this week.
Right. Yeah. They most certainly love their nostalgia in Anaheim. It's their 25th anniversary. For their 30th anniversary? That's when they do this?
What year did they come into the league? 97? Something like that?
Yeah, well, no, this year's their 25th anniversary. So I'm just saying, for their 30th, they'll bring back Randy Carlyle. It'll be a great idea.
Him and Brian Burke. Just the good old reunion.
That'll go real for him. Before we carry on with the rest of the show, let's remind everyone about the Alberta Podcast Network and the fine folks at ATB that support them and support hockey in your community. If you head over to atb.com/hockey, you can see all of the ways that they do this. And if you head to ATB, you can be part of a bank that supports the community around you and supports the sport that you love. So head over there and you will not regret selecting ATB as your bank of choice.
Almost 19 years ago to the day, I announced my decision to forego entering sports media with ESPN, and I decided to join my friend Carl here at the Fourth Line. It was one of the best decisions and smartest decisions I've ever made in my life. I've cherished that time, especially during that year. And Carl, you know what year that was. I want to thank all fourth line fans everywhere for the unique role that you played in my life. I'd also like to thank ESPN and all the fans across not only the country, but the world. You can't fathom how much I've enjoyed my 14 years here on the Fourth Line podcast. With that, I would like to announce my retirement from the Fourth Line, effective March 4th-ish.
That was moving.
I appreciate it. I just want to thank you guys for your just for your support and your encouragement.
I can't help but feel like you plagiarized that though. Just a little bit. Like I feel like that wasn't entirely something you wrote yourself.
But it was good though, right?
It was good. It was very good. And for those who are wondering what is happening right now, this is Joel's way of announcing his retirement from podcasting or from the Fourth Line.
But I only podcast on the Fourth Line.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, cause Peyton Manning, he went somewhere else at the end of his career. Matt Sundin. I want to know that you don't Vancouver Canucks us like Matt's did. That's what I want to make sure about.
No, you guys are first in my heart.
Well, I'm glad to know that you'll be going to the Hall of Fame as a Fourth Line podcaster. And we now have a month left with, there's likely one more week in your time with us that you'll be away. Trade deadline day.
Which is, we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna see what I can do about that. But that's probably that fact there is kind of like the biggest thing is why I don't think this is probably a surprise to most people is, I have been missing more and more lately. I don't know. We probably also hinted when Nick joined us that there was maybe some change on the horizon, but and we've talked about this. That was one of the things that I was very excited about is that someone was coming in to keep Carl company on the Fourth Line.
I mean, no one wants to sit here and listen to me talk for an hour about hockey. I need someone to keep me, to provide the good content.
It's not just keeping him company, it's keeping him in line.
It's true. Nick, I'm gonna need you to start disagreeing with Carl more. I don't even care if you believe it. You just gotta sell that you believe it.
Joel, I will do that for you.
I appreciate it. So, but yeah, it's just been, it's family, work, life has been getting more and more crazy. And so got to take some steps back in a couple places. And this is unfortunately one of those. So, but
the good news is that Joel has not said no to coming out of retirement at various points. Not permanently, but if the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, we could get a Joel appearance on the show this spring. We'll see. I fully expect that you will be back at some point in time for one here and there. Very excited that Nick is obviously here. This was, the plan when Nick joined was that Joel would be departing at some point, but, it's happening a little bit sooner than we all thought. And, we're not going to stand in Joel's way of doing his thing. Very excited that he can be with his work and his family, especially his family. No one wants to be with their work more than they have to. I'm excited, Joel, that you can be at work more. That's really what I want for you in life.
Well, yeah, but I think the biggest thing is, I was like, you guys know, but we've got another little one away here soon, and Henry's
another
crazy.
Announcement?
Was that? I don't know. We don't really. I was like, we don't talk about a ton of personal. No one really knows what they know that we barbecue things and watch hockey and sports. It's really about it. So
very true. Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
But
so that's but we can enough about that. We got a couple of weeks if you want to. We'll do some reminiscing probably on that last show. We'll probably talk about hockey.
Yeah. Joel can pick the Elimination Station and the Pavel Bures that week if he wants to.
Can I air some grievances? Not again, like you guys, just general people that I just want to say things about.
Yeah, we'll give you We'll give you a amount of time to be determined for you to just have the air. One final rant, Jack.
Oh, that would just be so special.
But if you have
it's
something,
the whole episode rant, Jack.
Yeah. Joel, you have 55 minutes and go.
We'll pull up some chairs. Maybe grill some burgers. Oh, it'll be great.
Great. I'm excited that we will be able to grill burgers in early March in Calgary too. So,
we will. We can and we will.
Thanks, Kyle. Well, you can send notes in, but yeah, there's obviously more hockey happened this week. There was a trade. Brian Boyle traded from New Jersey to the Nashville Predators for a second round pick, which to me begs the question, I didn't realize that fourth line centers were worth second round picks. We've been severely undervaluing ourselves as fourth liners here if they're netting second rounders out there. How can we leverage this Brian Boyle trade for our own benefit?
Good. I don't know.
That was not the question I was expecting.
Well, here's what we're going to do. Nick, you answer the question you were expecting, and Joel can answer the question he was expecting.
Well, now I'm trying to figure out how, best, asset management, can you guys trade me before my contract expires?
I'm in the midst of trying to trade you right now before we release this episode.
Do I need to submit my no trade list?
You don't have a no trade clause.
I do have one.
Well,
I do have one.
We'll have to look into that. If you could send me that list right now, actually, that'd be great. So that I can see which podcasts you have on your no trade list.
It's a long list.
Okay. You have to name 5 shows that you would be willing to be traded to. That's what it is, so.
Oh, that's easy.
No, well.
Damn, Patrick. If I don't go there, forget about it.
Well.
I'm walking away from my contract.
We'll just let you stew here then for a few more weeks. Nick, thoughts on the trade?
It's a high price to pay, but I think at the end of the day for Nashville, who cares? It's, their Stanley Cup window, a second round pick for them is it's nothing at this point. They don't need it, so.
And a late second rounder.
Yeah, it's basically a third, right? Who cares? I think it's if they wanted to beef up a bit on the fourth line, Boyle's a good character guy. Some leadership in the locker room, Well,
and defensively, he's good, right? As a defensive forward, that's a guy that I would want. He's not coming in at a term, right? He's done after this season. So, if it was a third round pick, I wouldn't have even questioned it. You're that Brian Boyle is worth a third. But let's start to see if that, as other trades start to trickle in, right? We saw last week, I think it was Bob McKenzie had said that he fully expected the Ottawa Senators to have traded Matt Duchene by Monday. And, it is currently 7:00 Eastern time on Monday night. Matt Duchene is still an Ottawa Senator. So, we'll see over the next, 2 weeks, as trades start to trickle through, we will see what happens.
Don't you typically pay before the trade deadline? This must have been the guy that the Preds wanted.
Yeah, and to them, a second round pick is nothing.
True, but you still, if you can give, wouldn't you rather?
Yeah. I would, well.
Have a third? I don't even know.
They have Florida's third, actually.
That's a bet. See, that's almost the same.
Yeah. For some reason, they just gave them last year's third and got Florida's third for this year. We're just going to keep moving back and back and back. So who knows? They'll probably trade this for a 2020 third round pick at some point as well. So we'll start to see as trades start to come through, what happens. I fully expect there to be some more. There was like very minor trades. Montreal decided to trade for every overpriced AHLer imaginable. We got some nice Dale Weiss in there, some Nate Thompson. So we'll see. We've got those moves. Maybe some actual trades will happen between now and then.
Marc Bergevin just like makes massive trades or terribly boring trades. There's no in between for that guy.
He's always tinkering with the bottom 6 of that roster. And like
very strange.
Just not even over tinkering, just poorly tinkering. But we'll see. As the Canadians are currently 3rd in the Atlantic, primed for a first round matchup against the mighty Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll see what else he gets up to at the trade deadline here. With the amount of teams firmly in it, especially in the East, the West, a lot of teams that are like acting like they're out of it, but actually points wise are still in it. I do think there's going to be a lot of movement at the deadline. What do you guys think? Do you think there's a lot of more sellers than in recent years?
I have no idea. Like, it's tough to know if teams are like, some teams that are like close to a playoff, like, seed, they might just hold tight instead of buying or selling. They'll say, hey, like, if we make the playoffs, great. If we don't, we didn't give up assets to miss the playoffs. I think there's going to be a lot of teams that hold.
But I look at, for example, it continually shocks me how terrible the Western Conference is. 'Cause like the East, you look and you're like, okay, there's a legitimate chance that a 90-point team is going to make the playoffs in the West, which is shockingly, usually it's like 95, 96 is what you're looking at for a playoff spot. And, earlier this week, there was a team at a point per game pace. So an 82 point pace was in a playoff spot. But you've got like right now Vancouver, Colorado, and then all the way down to previously Elimination Station eliminated Chicago is 3rd out of the playoff race. A lot of these teams that like they've written off their seasons, they're like, we're done, it's over, still somehow have a chance.
It's crazy. It's crazy that like that low of a point pace is like potentially going to be a playoff team.
Yeah. But right now, we've got a lot of teams, none that we've eliminated, some that we've been on the verge of, and we'll get to the Elimination Station very shortly, are on the verge of making it back into the playoffs. So, we'll say, I guess the closest would be, we got Chicago 4 points back in the West and Philadelphia 6 points back in the East. Last year, if you recall, Joel forced me to remove my Colorado Avalanche from the Elimination Station. I will kick you off this show before I let that happen this year, Joel. Once the Avalanche are in. When they get put in, they are staying in. They are not coming out this year.
Okay, well then they're not going in. Not while I'm around.
We'll be doing that on the March 11th show. You can expect the Colorado Avalanche.
Nick?
Nope.
Attaboy.
Nope.
Don't enjoy
I made a promise, Carl. I made a promise.
Well, why don't we go to this week's Elimination Station?
Elimination Station.
Station.
Elimination Station.
So we have a plethora of teams already eliminated in the Elimination Station. What we do is every week we say, this team's out of the playoff race, they are done, call it, and we suggest how they can fix it. So we have had the Ottawa Senators, Detroit Red Wings, New Jersey Devils, Los Angeles Kings, Edmonton Oilers, Chicago Blackhawks have all been welcomed in the Elimination Station thus far. Joel, we'll let you start. Who is your team that you think should be in this week's Elimination Station?
Have we not eliminated Arizona?
No, I don't think we have. I think they've just been consistently medium for weeks.
I was gonna go there, or like, I'm really mad at the Rangers, so we could throw them in.
I mean, if they just beat the best team in the league yesterday 4-1, it's hard to put them in the elimination station.
Making the playoffs.
Too much of an emotional reaction. I don't like it.
Fine. My official vote is for the Arizona Coyotes.
Nick?
Did you say we eliminated Anaheim?
The Anaheim Ducks, I do not believe, have been eliminated yet. They are still fair game.
We got to pile it on this week.
I'm fine with that. I didn't realize. I just assumed that they were eliminated after their 12 losses in a row.
No, we held out hope just like they did. They kept Randy Carlyle all the time. We kept them out of the Randy Carlyle zone.
Well, should we just let them suffer just one more week? Don't put them out of their misery yet. Should be there's still hope, guys. You can still maybe do it. You've only got 12 teams to jump over to make the playoffs.
And one of them is the team that Joel wants to eliminate this week. But, you know what? Let's do that. Welcome to the Elimination Station, Arizona.
Yeah.
The Arizona Coyotes.
You did it. You missed the playoffs again.
27 games left. They have 53 points in 55 games. Certainly a franchise, as Joel mentioned, struggling again, continually. This is what they do. And now we are given the enviable task of fixing the Arizona Coyotes. There's a lot of hope that's floated through this organization year after year. They're actually somehow they have a higher cap hit than many away from the cap this year. So they're spending money. They've got things going on. They're losing games though.
They have a higher cap hit on their injured reserve than they do of active forwards.
That's true. Yep. They've got
That's crazy.
26 million on their IR. And some of those are legitimate players. Jason Demers, Antti Ranta, Michael Grabner. Those are real players that they wished were playing. Marian Hossa and Dave Boland. Not.
Kyle Capobianco.
Let's play everyone's favorite game. Where's Kyle Capobianco from?
I'm going USA.
I was gonna go US too. Okay, I'll go Canada.
Okay, if you were both going to say the states, which state do you think he's from?
Oh, well,
Minnesota.
Michigan, sure.
You are both shockingly close. He is not from the States. He is Canadian. He is from Mississauga, not Michigan or Minnesota, but they both start with M's. So does Mississauga.
They both start with MI, actually. Getting closer.
He's actually from Michigan and Minnesota. Mississauga, you would know better than me. Is that the Michigan of Ontario?
No, I don't think so.
Well, one could have hoped.
This is how much we think of the Coyotes. We just don't even care. We're just like, you guys are awful. Nobody cares about you. Bye.
That is something that happens. Yeah.
We need help in this team. What is happening?
Antti Ranta went down.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Ranta's been out for a while.
That guy's
out the whole season.
He came back for briefest of times. And yeah, now he's hurt again. So I think he's a guy that I said going into the year that if Ranta could be healthy, things would go really well for the Coyotes. Antti Ranta is not healthy ever. So I'm flummoxed.
You don't.
What do you do?
Word.
You trade for Nikita Zaitsev.
You're just doubling down. They can't put him on Dave Boland Island, Joel.
They need him to play. He would be an upgrade.
Patience. That's what they do. They wait.
But for
I don't know. I think
what do you for?
You wait for your good players to not be injured. You wait for some of your young stars to come into their prime. You collect more high draft picks. What else could they do?
Acceptance. That's what they do. They accept they're never going to win. And they disappear. That's really what they should probably do.
The good news for the Arizona Coyotes, they are currently in the midst of their best attendance season since 2014. They are clocking in at a whopping 13,500 fans through the doors per game, which only puts them 28th in the league. So it's pretty good. I guess no, 29th. Florida and the Islanders are the only teams worse than them. So you've got Antti Rantanen. You have to hope that he's healthy. You essentially, now that they've been eliminated from the playoffs, just get him healthy for next year. The same strategy they had last season, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah, and get Jason Demers healthy and Michael Grabner and Nick Schmaltz.
And don't trade Dylan.
Yeah, it didn't work out too well for them.
It's seen him with like another young, talented player, made him play better.
But who was he playing with in Arizona? Because they're all young.
He wasn't playing.
Talented players. Who was playing?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's a problem.
Earlier in the year, he for sure wasn't, right? He spent time in the A and has been all over the place. So, yeah, certainly there's a lot of issues with this roster. You've got the young man running the team there, and I don't know. I just, as a Coyotes fan, as many of those as there are out there, you've got a tipping point where you're like, it never gets better.
Acceptance.
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating. Maybe they're gearing up to take a run at Panarin this summer.
What they should do is they should take their team and go and find another team like Florida and be like, hey, let's become one team.
Yeah, mergers happen in the business world all the time.
Yeah. Get rid of bad players.
Yeah.
Keep only the good ones. It's just which
is nice, because then you could have former Florida Panther Lawson Crouse now play with future Arizona Coyote Lawson Crouse. So Florida would get him back. It'd be a free trade. And Dave Boland was a former Panther.
I was thinking we'd get rid of the bad players, though, and keep the good ones.
Very, very, very true, Joel.
So then we're down to 30 teams.
We're down to 30 teams.
Where does this new merged team, the Florida Panther Yotes, where do they settle? They got to be meet in the middle somewhere in the central U.S.
No, Seattle. Let's just forget about all. Just go to Seattle.
What is halfway between Arizona and Florida?
Seattle.
It's got to be somewhere in the middle of the U.S. where there is no hockey.
Yeah. Arizona to Sunrise, Florida.
Kansas. I don't know where Kansas City is. Is that more west?
I think that's more north. So it actually, this is a fitting thing, because halfway between them is Houston, who actually for them to get an NHL team. So let's try it. What's the worst that happens?
Oh, creepy. I think you just predicted what's going to happen.
We're gonna fold one of these teams, join it with the other one. I do like the idea of keeping the Panthers and Coyotes having dogs and cats as the name of this mishmash team. It's good. And they move it to Houston. We fixed it. We did it.
Get Gary on the line.
You guys were not think good. But it was great.
You salvaged it for sure. It started off weak, but your sales pitch sold us.
You have no faith in me.
It did what we were meant to do, and it fixed the Coyotes.
Yeah.
In a world where the Coyotes are unfixable, this is it. This is how it's done. I do sort of wonder, after ineptitude for this long, it just seems like they don't have actually, put the management in pieces and coaches and development in place that, an actual NHL team has. Because everyone else can manage to develop players and scout players, except for Edmonton and Arizona. Everyone else has been bad and gotten better.
I love how it was just how you referred to them as not an actual NHL team. I don't remember. I have no idea what you said. All I know is that at one point you were like, as opposed to an actual NHL team. And I was like, oh, that's the problem. That's the problem, is that we have been thinking they're an NHL team, and really they're an AHL team.
Wow,
This makes
a huge mistake.
This makes so much more sense. So I don't.
They're a great AHL team, actually.
It's really impressive that this AHL team wins games in the NHL.
It's true.
This is amazing.
Wow.
I am so glad that we don't have any Arizona Coyote listeners, because I'm sure if we did, we don't anymore.
They tuned out long ago.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's done.
Well, you're welcome, Arizona. The Houston, Florida Coyotes. No, Panther Coyotes. We're workshopping the name. We're
The Houston Cats and Dogs. Just
Houston Cats and Dogs.
no spaces. Just Cats and Dogs.
Yeah. Is it Cats and Dogs or Cats and?
In just an N.
Cats and Dogs.
Cats and Dogs.
Yeah. I like this.
I like
And it's like some sort of, in the logo, it's some sort of weird cat dog.
I'm sure we don't have any listeners in Arizona, but we must have some listeners who are good artists. If you wish to send us your rendition of what the Arizona Cats and Dogs logo would look like, we'd love to have that. We'll frame it and give it to Joel as his going away present.
This sounds great.
Pavel Bure's, let's pick them. We pick every week. We pick our must-watch games of the week, which means that every night we suggest which game on the NHL schedule is the best one. With that, you head to the Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast and you pick the must-watch game. You say, hey, here's the game. Who wins? What's the final score? You select that. And Joel's found a picture of a cat and a dog as one thing, and it is as disturbing as you may think it is. But that's what you do. You pick who you think wins the game and what the final score will be. If you're right, you get points. Right now, Mingyan is leading at least one before trade deadline. We'll crown a winner. We'll send you the Fourth Line prize, puck, a coaster, whatever we have. That's what we have right now. We're looking into getting some more items. And if you have any thoughts, let us know. But until then, Joel, we'll let you start. Tomorrow.
I go Stanley Cup rematch from 2004? 2003.
It was 3.
Yeah, Calgary, Tampa. I was looking down and I was like,
No,
not
it's
them.
2004.
It would have been 2004. You are correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or do we go Colorado and Toronto? A game that Toronto will certainly win.
I don't know. I guess we could do that. As Toronto is my team.
Okay. Toronto, Colorado. I assume, based on Colorado's recent stretch, that this game will go to overtime. If you want a tip, Colorado will lose overtime. That's what will happen in this game. So, pick Toronto winning by 1 goal, and you'll have a good time happening. It's 2 games on Wednesday. What are you feeling, Nick?
McDavid versus Crosby.
Koskinen v. Murray.
Well, that's less exciting.
Russell v. Letang.
No.
It's just more so we don't want to watch the tire fire of the other game.
The other game being Anaheim versus the recently Bob Murray coached Anaheim Ducks. Valentine's Day. Do you guys have great Valentine's Day plans? I do nothing. I'll probably be watching hockey that night.
I'm actually going to watch live hockey at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. It's the women's Team Canada versus Team USA series.
Oh, very nice.
So I will be there.
Excellent. So Nick's watching hockey. I
have to work. I think I'm working.
Very romantic, and I'll probably watch hockey at home. What
will you be watching, Carl?
So one that I know will have a lot in after the controversy. I don't know. I don't know if you guys saw the Brandon Gallagher, PK Subban barbs back and forth in the Montreal-Nashville game this week. But they're playing a rematch this week, and that's mine. Montreal and Nashville, Valentine's Day. No love will be lost between PK and Brandon Gallagher.
I'll be a good game.
Friday, Joel. We've got another Stanley Cup rematch.
We're not watching. No. Just none of these games. Nope. Just no. I'm not choosing. I refuse to choose one of these games.
All right, Nick, you get to pick one of these games on Friday.
Don't do it, Nick.
No, I'm going to.
Nobody wants to watch any of these games.
We're gonna watch probably the worst one, New Jersey, Minnesota.
Excellent. Welcome.
Enjoy that one.
Welcome, New Jersey, Minnesota. Which brings us to Saturday. Obviously, the regular large slate of games on a Saturday night. Joel, since you passed over yourself, since you took the bye on Friday, what do you want on Saturday?
Let's go Elimination Station. Want to watch Leafs Coyotes? This sounds like a great game.
That sounds like a terrible game. I mean, that's like, if the Colorado game's not a trap game for the Leafs, Arizona for sure is.
Oh, the Leafs lose to every bad team. It's never good.
Well, I look forward to 2 Leafs losses in the Pavel Bures this week then. Sunday, it brings us to a collection of, similarly weird games. However, there are 2 wildcard teams facing off, and as much as I dislike the team, we are going with Minnesota and St. Louis. Minnesota back for the second time in the Pavel Bures this week.
This is an awful week. Like, there are so many bad games.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that are good playing a lot of teams that are bad.
Yeah. This is not.
We do have on Saturday, we actually have Calgary is in Pittsburgh, which that should be a good game as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not watching Toronto and Arizona, maybe watch Calgary and Pittsburgh in the afternoon. It's an afternoon game too. So,
it's actually a morning game for me at least.
It's an 11 a.m. game. You can pick between watching the Red Wings lose to the Carter Hearts in Philadelphia or the Penguins and Flames. Those are your options early in the morning. But until then, we'll be back next week. We'll be picking a brand new slate. We'll be 1 week closer to Joel's farewell episode, sadly. We will be talking, maybe there'll be some trades. Maybe Toronto will make some more moves. Maybe Mitch Martin will sign a contract before then.
It's 1 week out from the trade deadline next Monday.
Very, very true. So we will see what comes of that. If you are a fan of other sports that are not hockey, tomorrow is a big day in the CFL. It is CFL Free Agents. So head to the Alberta Podcast Network. You will find one of the great shows, the CFL 2 and Out podcast. So head on over there to CFL 2 and Out. Travis does a fantastic job with that show. And those guys are the number one spot for everything CFL. So head on to the 2 and Out CFL podcast with Travis and Brazilian. CFL2andout.podbean.com is where you can find them. You can find us at the Fourth Line Podcast. There's a lot of talk about the whole offer sheets. We mentioned Mitch Marner for people being that. Mike Laybourne has an article breaking down offer sheets for you. Every question you've ever had, he's got answers for. And if he doesn't have the answer, there isn't one. So he's got you covered over there. fourthlinepodcast.com, at Fourth Line Podcast on Twitter, facebook.com/the Fourth Line Podcast. And until next week,
Boom City.